live streaming, I think, I hope.
Yes, we are.
We are.
Yes.
We are live. We are
Okay.
live.
Yeah, powerful topic today. We have, well, as coaches, we are doing that kind of reflection on thinking process, on events, on everything. So right now we have powerful topic of reflection on 2020. So who would like to start? I don't even know personally where you start with. So it's quite a year.
Irene.
Oh my God.
Yes. Irene will start that.
Wow. You know, the Kickstarter is a great role.
Kickstarter. Yes.
Yes.
What can I say? Well, the thing that I learned this year is that no matter what's going on, there is nothing that can, you know, can't make me in the condition that I'm not staying in the nature or live with the nature. And this year I appreciated more than ever, especially the fact that I live in a countryside and I have the great fortune to live with a garden, trees, animals, cats, dogs, parrots, and yes, and a lot of birds, different species of birds. And waking up with instead of the noise of the cars or other mechanical stuff, waking up with the song of the birds, it's something really different as experience. And I love very much this touch with nature. I appreciate it more than ever. And in this context, even the relationship with my family grows. Even in a huge moments of conflict, especially during the beginning of the lockdown, having 3 teenagers obliged to stay at home, it was really, really challenging. Really, really challenging. Because, they never lose any occasion to fight against each other, to have a discussion, or to, argue. It was everything. And, you see these 2 camps with 3 teenagers and 3 adults, my sister, my mother, and I. Really, it was amazing to observe how we differently face a situation, and because they have all this energy. And what it was strange that my nephews weren't able to go into the nature so much, even with the sun or during the high spring times, with a very warm sun and very warm weather. They weren't able to stay so much in the nature. This was strange to me, but it's a very different than generation, more digital. I try to, to exploit any occasion to escape from the computer and Zoom and other call whenever I can, because I'm working, as all of us, I think, merely online virtually, and anytime I can avoid to do this, I do it, because I need much more contact with something that has nothing to do with the technology. This is my best learning this year. More nature and less technology.
Yes. Well, well, in terms of learning probably it's like really quite a serious topic too. I think there are lots of sometimes from one event, if I think I could extract lots of different types of learnings. So right now, I am kind of trying even to describe in the beginning just experience at all, just first experience, because yeah, probably learnings it's a little bit more broader kind of topics. And yeah, in terms of my experiences being like, for example, locked, or experiences of when the world is concerned on a global scale, when you cannot travel the way you used to experience, like there are lots of amazing experiences. And I use word amazing because I mean I do believe that nothing comes in a black or white, it comes with lots of shapes and forms and colors. So for example, if you cannot travel, it's actually not just, oh, it's terrible. Well, I mean, you could actually start to appreciate, place where you are, and when you walk, you could, walk, for example, in different kind of routes and discover more, from your place where you are. I mean, it's like it's actually pushing you to reevaluate, not necessarily travel kind of 5,000 kilometers to walk the streets. You could walk on unknown streets in your own city. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's just changing perspectives. And so as a result, I believe the experiences have a really multi-layered kind of structure. And I believe this year definitely brought lots of unusual experiences. This is for sure. For me, that's definitely quite a fact. Alice, what about you?
I think the biggest one for me was a new sense of awareness for myself. I always said that I can stay home and it doesn't bother me to stay home. And, most of it, sometimes I would be, before this, I would be at home and I wouldn't go anywhere all week. And I would remind myself, okay, get up, go out, go somewhere, and I would be home working and I would be fine. And I thought, okay, pandemic, lockdown, no problem. But the difference is one of the awareness that big point of awareness that came to me is different when I choose to be at home than when someone say you have to be at home.
Yeah.
And it just did something to my thought process. And I mean, even on the first day that they told us that, okay, at 5 o'clock on Friday evening, we're going into lockdown. And I was like, no big deal, so what? Well, this Saturday morning, I get up and I'm sitting and I'm fine to about 12 o'clock, noon. And I realized it's really, really quiet. So I moved from window to window and I'm sitting and I'm looking and waiting for a car to come by. And I see no car. I see nobody walking. I see no traffic. Maybe 2 hours later, I go to the door. I open the door and I see nobody. 2 hours later, I still haven't seen anyone. So finally, a car come down, and I run to the door, and I find myself just waving, and the person hit the brakes and start backing back because they think something is wrong.
Mhm.
And I'm like, oh, okay, I was waving at someone over there. But I realized it's one thing when you choose to do something, but my experience was it's completely different when you have to do it. So that's the awareness I've been dealing with, even with my internal self. It's some things I really thought, okay, I'm this way, I believe in this. And I found out because I was here by myself so often that my thought pattern changed and I started digging deeper, doing a deeper dive within me. So I think that's the biggest experience for me was becoming more aware of who I am and where I want to go. It was some strange things happening. Um, I think that was my biggest experience, becoming aware, and then that just kind of trailed off to different things.
Mm. Well, it's true. It's amazing how many things we take for granted. I mean, and we need to, like, as soon as we have any kind of external or like a restriction, and then you realize that everything was, like normal, or yeah, kind of not really appreciated very much, suddenly become maybe precious, maybe even just a walk, yeah, just a free walk could be a precious thing you never could
Yes,
imagine. That's amazing. Yeah, that's really amazing.
yes, because
Thank you.
normally I was walking before all of this. I would go to the park every morning and I would walk 3 to 4 miles, 5 days a week. When this happened, I went to the park and it was so many people and they weren't wearing masks. So I came back. I did that a few more times and I haven't been able to walk one time in that park since all of this happened.
Yeah. Okay. John, what about you?
Well,
Tell us
since I
something.
wrote, since I was the one who wrote this up, I thought, well, John, you got to really think deeply here.
Exactly.
You got to get ready to present. It was really interesting because what I'll tell you is I was thinking about the experiences and not to like put them in categories, but what came up
Mm.
first was losses and gains. And it's interesting because that seems to be the trajectory for me. And what I'll say about the losses is that there were so many losses. The loss of freedom, right, to be able
Mhm.
to come and go as we were used to doing, and the other side of this is there's the loss of many of us experience the loss of loved ones
Mhm.
Yeah.
during this time period. And so this has created different losses of work or jobs, losses of identity. And that's one that I talked about earlier. And in some ways, I'll kind of transition because with identity, there was a gain because, this whole idea of what really defines who we are, right? And when things have been taken away or aren't fulfilled, that identity doesn't stick anymore, right?
Yeah.
And so for me,
Challenge.
it was kind of to go back in. So again, you see these kind of losses and gains. The loss of life and loss of it was the preciousness of life and the preciousness of the relationships that we have with people. Um,
Yeah.
Part of this really was also this the idea that I don't know how to explain this. For me, there was a loss of how I viewed the world. the loss of my maybe the goodness in the world, and the kind of a loss of trust in human beings a little bit. You know, here in the United States and maybe in other places, we have been watching bad behavior for a
Yes.
long time, and among so many people. But what came out of that was that I still wanted to believe that in the biggest of pictures, right, there's still good, and that there's still people out there who are doing amazing things and helping other people. So you've got this kind of balancing act that goes on. And I think, you know, the experience of things are always changing. Nothing stays the same. And, you know, even our bodies and our you know, we change every day, every moment. And that was that realization, and having that awareness again was a gain to me, because it was remembering that things are always changing. And I think also, as everybody pointed out, I mean, both Alice and Irene, relationships, you know, yes, there was some strain at the beginning, but I've gained amazing connectedness with a lot of people, including my own family, because we've been here so close to each other. Um, the gains of, Irene talked about nature and being outside, and there was more quiet, and that was such a beautiful thing to be able to hear the birds and the wind, and, you know, experience nature in a whole different level. um, the gains of appreciating my home because we've been locked down in here. um, I kind of see my home as very different now. It's kind of this sacred space, you know, that has become extremely comfortable. Um, and I think the other gain that I came out with is that we really can't control anything. You know, the majority of things are out of our control. I think, to go to Alice's point, and this was so part of this, is it's about choices. How are we responding to that which we can't control? So it's about making choices, right? And so, I mean, again, I think I'm kind of all over the place, but I'm looking at this kind of loss gain kind of piece, and I think ultimately I had to let go of expectations. There were so many expectations of this year. And I think this is true for many people when the year started, and that those expectations are not going to be fulfilled. And how do we let go of expectations? Because, you know, my gain was is that it doesn't serve me by having expectations, because they can, you know, change on a dime. So again, I felt like I was just riding a wave.
Very, very interesting.
A different,
No,
but
it's really fascinating, you know, how yeah, I'm listening to you, and yeah, I just kind of comparing to like scenes which I have and choices of words which I have in my head, and really, really fascinating. I mean, for example, you were kind of looking from perspective of gains and losses, and yeah, it's really powerful way to look at things. And I like over the years, because I went through kind of different type of crises. Also, everyone does many ways, but now kind of crisis was global, and it made me also kind of realize that I really lost kind of a little bit passion about looking at gains and losses anymore. I don't know if it makes sense. I mean, my perspective is become a little bit more neutral. Like, yeah, I see lots of amazing kind of different changes, and I can label them and color them into the plus and minuses, and it will become immediately losses or gains. But if I don't, I see that there are enormous, powerful changes around the world, and if I take one particular change, I'm sure that there are possible, there are, like, if you dive in, there are multiple kind of tiny, small nuances which you could, I would say, categorize into the gains, loss, gain, loss, gain, loss, and gain, loss. But yeah, this is like a different way of look at things, and I believe if I can stay away from labeling or making circular corners like opposite ones, I could, yeah, I could actually be at ease, kind of at ease with whatever change is, because I'm not I'm trying not to get into the polarities, or see it as a one big thing, because many times I experienced that something which I perceived as a plus, later on, my evaluation actually was not as positive, and something which I perceived, like if I go immediately, I would perceive it as a minus or loss or whatever. Later on, I was like, wow, that actually was amazing that it happened, because if it wouldn't, eventually I would not have this, and this. I would go to completely different route. So, like, going through crisis kind of put me into the, like, always from the longer perspective, when I look back on crisis and I see that, wow, it brought so many things. I'm so happy it happened, because if it wouldn't, I would not have this, and this experience. I would not become, who I am and experience what I had. But when I was in the middle of crisis, yeah, if you ask me, I would say, no, it's not good. Everything is going the wrong way. Everything is destroyed, and there are lots of minuses here. Yeah, the picture is changing over time, and that's why I'm kind of trying not to jump, into the colors. Sorry for a long. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking out loud.
Yeah,
But
I, I like
go
that.
ahead, Alex. Go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
like that gain and loss thing. And I think it's some of the awareness that I got for everything. You know, for instance, when I've just really learned more about myself. Okay, I couldn't spend time as much time with my friends and family, but I learned more about me. I had some really, as you know, I had some really personal loss. I had some deaths in my family.
Yeah.
But with those deaths, I just really became super aware of how precious life is and how important it is not to take for granted. With, I mean, like Alex said, with this lockdown, I don't know if I would be in, in this group if we hadn't have had the lockdown. Maybe I would have started, but I might have dropped off somewhere along the way. So I got to meet you guys. That's a gain, from the lockdown.
Yeah.
And I mean, I have met so many people in so many different places, and I was actually open to meeting them, where before I probably would have been, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to be in front of a camera. I don't want, that's not going to work. But it kind of forced me in a way to do that. And I was left, one of the questions I asked myself when I saw the write up was, if the pandemic and the shutdown had not happened, would we have done a lots of the things we did, would we still have done them, but would we have gotten the um maybe the knowledge or the wisdom from them that we got because we were shut down? You know, we actually had time to think about them.
Yeah.
Where before, I mean, it would have just been, oh, wow, this happened and to the next thing. But we had time to think about it.
True. Very much. So, if you would compare, let me ask you guys kind of provocative question. What is your evaluation? Was it a good year? I understand there are lots of ways how to define good, but on a personal level, I mean, people are losing lives and things are happening. You could say, and it would be like strange. Yeah, that was a brilliant year, but nevertheless, like there is a personal perspective, there is a global perspective. To be honest, right now, I'm just very much aware kind of how like people are dying, but they are dying, and they have been dying every day.
Right.
A lot. So,
Yeah.
Oh, well, Alex, I think I can make you laugh because this, just thinking about this, make me laugh. As John said, we had a lot of expectation, and all this expectation goes somewhere else because we don't realize it. I have programs with the coaches, friends in my country, and these programs, because are intended to be precisely in person, likewise a long program with hypnosis, because I have the certification as Ericksonian hypnotist. They goes down completely, and other things, and I cannot mention how many, but on the other hand, I was wondering how works this, law of attraction. I cannot understand. And even the law of attraction works beyond and behind our expectation or our beliefs, because I had moment, and I think all of us have really down where we don't trust anyone, anything. And because I'm also a person that is extreme in feelings. I want to kill many people this year, and they have to thank me that they are still alive. And and but all these things, oh my God, what's going on here? I am receiving a lot of requests to make interview with great coaches in the United States. I'm receiving a proposal for having networking products in commerce, and one is Stephen Todd with CBS, that also are important for the boost of the immune system and make a lot of good things. And I said, well, wow, all these things are unexpected, and with all these things I can also help my sister. There are not only proposal to me, but there are something that through me can arrive to other people, that is the, to me, serving is the meaning of my life. So without serving, I'm not feeling very well. and I see, okay, and it was just a thought that I put in the universe, let's say, like that. I want to just help. I want to serve. I feel useless when I don't serve. And I have moments even of depression sometimes, because we are all human, no matter which kind of level of awareness or enlightenment you have, the depression is still in place. And just the difference is that I recognized, and I say, okay, what are you telling to me? What is the meaning of your presence in my life, in this moment, in this precise moment, in this circumstance? And I think that the main experience we all share is that we gain a lot of more awareness that changes us in many different ways. And we can see all these shades of changes. And I agree with you, Alex, not in a way or good or bad, but just, maybe those expectations we had or those projects we have were not for us. We are for other things. We are for other projects. We are staying together and we have this idea to create a talk show. And it's amazing. And I think, oh wow, and was one of my dream. But somehow in the last few years, I put aside these dreams and I meet these three wonderful people that maybe we will have a great dream to have together, and we can make difference in people's life. Just maybe helping them to reflect or laugh more sometimes. And I think that maybe I am giving a new evaluation, a new value to what is uncertain and unexpected.
Nice. Well, you again, you're using guys, John and Irene. You're using words expectations, powerful words, and I totally kind of see how ruined expectations could bring some kind of frustration and, or at least some kind of feeling of that something goes wrong or not fulfilled. Yeah, that was one of the reasons when in my past I was actually hated kind of to make plans, because especially long-term plans, because all the time when I'm kind of trying to do that, the life goes completely in a different way. I was like, what's the point, really? I mean, every time goes completely sideways. What is the point of planning? But later, like going through NLP kind of training, I realized that actually it's pretty nice to have a plan, but at the same time, like, I have a clear understanding that this is the plan, which obviously I will be very happy to change as soon as maybe new information will come, or something will push me to change. So it's like having plan which that the longer it is, the more flexible it's supposed to be somewhere in the middle or in the end. So as a result, with that kind of flexibility, I don't even call that expectation anymore, because I also like, okay, I'm planning stuff, which probably, are going to be changed along the way. But we'll see. Maybe not. Or maybe we will. I mean, so as a result, that kind of expectations become a little bit more framed kind of in a different slightly way. Something which you are planning to do, but obviously, I don't feel like I'm a god. So, well, there are some forces can adjust my plans easily. I've seen it already many times. So this is my kind of addition to my reaction on Iran comment. I think, guys, who is gonna do the hard job of wrapping up and giving some turn it into the some kind of wisdom, like a candy, wrapped in a nice wisdom type of piece of paper. So,
Oh, wow.
yes, please.
I will start it off and then give the candy to John.
Yes. He's a candy man. He's the candy. Yes.
Yes. Break the piece of candy.
Yes,
and
I will share my candy with you. I think our experience, our expectations with me, lots of things that John said really resonated with me when he was saying that he had he was kind of, well, I was thinking when he said that he had lost maybe what he expected, the way people would react. I think with me, I lost a innocence in my thinking because I really expected the world as a whole to show up better. But then on the opposite, going back to that plus and minus, those that showed up so magnificently. I mean, they really showed up. So while some I became aware that everything and everyone is not really behaving the way in a nice way. Everyone is not playing nicely. And that's life. So one of my big takeaways is that I myself had to accept that everyone don't play nicely. And I guess that's okay. That creates some kind of balance. Maybe if this one doesn't, it encouraged this one more to do it even more. So my biggest for this year, you asked Alex, have this been a good or bad year? For me personally, if I had the opportunity to go back and change it where there was no pandemic, I wouldn't do it. For me personally, this has been the most, I won't say good or bad, but the most rewarding year of my life. I've been more aware, I've been more mindful. And because it wasn't just for a month, a few weeks, it created a habit of me being aware, a habit of me being mindful, a habit of thinking, can you say this differently? Can you do this differently? So for me, I wouldn't change anything. And it's been some really hard times. Sometimes when I did kind of slip over into a little depression and all of that, but I also learned from it because before then, I wouldn't have even thought I would ever, I don't remember being depressed, you know? So it made me more human. And in being more human, it made me want to share more and to serve more. And like at this moment, I'm going to share the stage with John.
Yes, very nice, very smooth, Alice. And by the way, I totally agree with you, kind of in terms of my evaluation. Sorry, John, I'm just stealing your 20 seconds. My evaluation would be is that if I would change anything, I would also choose not to change a bit. So I think it's, I also wouldn't label good or bad, but it is quite remarkable year. So in many ways. Okay, John, sorry.
So I'll just close this part by saying, you know, all of us kind of responded to this year, and it wasn't until this moment when I heard you all that I did a moment of self-reflection and said I wouldn't change anything either. And I think really, and Alex, this goes back to what you were saying in terms of how we look at things. What was coming up for me is we can have losses and opportunities. It's that language of I can be this and this. You know, we can lose and have losses and loss of expectations, and I can have new rewards and new opportunities and new possibilities in my life in this same space. And again, I think it's so much about how do we look at things, but that is awareness, you know. And I think, you know, what was really coming up for me strongly was, you know, we talked about expectations. maybe it's really about how much are we attached to things,
Yeah.
right? And I believe that this year was a year for letting go and letting go of those attachments. And I do believe that when we let go a little bit, that's when opportunity and possibilities and new ways of thinking and awareness come into play. I think that creates the space for those opportunities.
Yeah.
While we are experiencing these feelings, right, of loss and depression and so many others, but it's that these and these can exist in the same space. And I think that's the biggest experience for me is they can all be here together. It's not one or the other. It's and. So
Very nice.
yeah.
So the candy is wrapped up very nicely. Thank you, John. So we leave it that candy on the table and meet again next week. Are you okay with that, guys?
Absolutely, right?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, perfect. Thank you very much, guys, and yeah, see you next Tuesday.
Bye.
Bye.